you set the tone, okay? You set the tone. Now, this is where all your planning and how am I going to arrange my classroom, that's where all of this pays off, okay? Now, what you need to have, your seating arrangement. What you need to do, have your classroom plan. And lastly, what do you need to do? What activity are you going to do? Because you got to have some sort of welcoming type of activity, okay? You're going to have one welcoming type of activity. So, I'm sorry, what was your name? No, hers. You did. You just was telling me, well, but what if I'm a new teacher and stuff like that? Guys, no, this is the thing. Who's the adult? You're the adult. Do not be afraid. They will eat you alive. Even if you're like
I didn't mean a student, like a new teacher. I meant like a student teacher along with your teacher.
Same thing. Own it.
If they know they know that they are the teacher, you know, she's the one that's in charge, not her.
Well, yes and no. You gotta own it. You gotta fake it till you make it. You gotta own it. I tell my kids, look, I am the supreme chancellor of this classroom. You like it or not, okay? You're all my Jedis, but I'm the supreme chancellor, okay? That's how it works, and they know. Now, one of the biggest things is that seating arrangement. It has two purposes. And this is for the first day of school, okay? The first few weeks of school. This is where you establish yourself, okay? One, it helps you learn the kids' names, okay? And that gives you accessibility. It'll allow you to take roll a lot faster, and it'll allow you, like I said, it'll allow you to learn those kids' names. But it also gives you authority. Because if you just say, oh, you say wherever, and we'll see how it works. You can't do that. Very first day of school, you need to have that seating arrangement. Now, later on, as the weeks go by, you're going to see, oh, those two can't be together. Okay, that one doesn't do anything over there. This one doesn't do something over here. This one talks too much. He's the little class clown. I don't want him in the front or her in the front or whatever. So that's where you start. Okay, let's move them around. And you start seeing the different needs. Oh, I noticed that she works well with her. He works well with her. So on and so forth. And that's where you can start doing that. Now, as a reward, if you see that these kids are a good class, because every class is going to be different, every group of kids, every year for my elementary school teachers, you're going to have different groups of kids. Every year, there's years that I have friends in elementary that are like, I can't wait till this year ends, you know? And there's teachers that are like, oh my God, I love these kids, I don't want to let them go. And you're going to have that, and it's okay. But the biggest thing is that you have to be, this is my classroom, let's get this straight. And does it go astray? And do you have issues every once in a while? Yes. Okay, we're human. We forget, it's not a big deal for now. No, because then you have to what? In Spanish, jalar las riendas. Okay? And that's okay, it happens. It happens that, oh, this didn't work and I just made this mistake. It's okay. You know what, guys? New month, new semester, new 6 weeks. Okay, let's start over. Let's try this. Let's try that. So that seating arrangement is really, really, really important because it does establish authority and it sets the tone. That's here. And then what we have next is actually Ms. Regalado's city.
Well, let me explain a little bit. If you remember the picture of my classroom, it was divided into two. I just, to make it fit in one page, I put it like that. So this would be the middle. So this is my 3 rows on the left side and then my 3 rows on the right side. And this is, so I put their names. And then I have a calendar. So for example, this 9 weeks, we began the 7th of January. So this is January and then part of February. So here, and this goes back to your question with seating. Sorry, excuse me, what was your name? Dolores. So remember you asked me a question about seating and taking attendance. This is actually my answer to those questions. So this is my seating arrangement. I put them, I put their names, and again, below I have a calendar, and if you notice, if I mark them, I highlighted yellow, that means that they were absent that day. If I highlighted orange, that means that they were tardy that day. So for example, at a glance, I can see, okay, this kid has very good attendance. She was only absent on the 21st. This kid has issues with attendance. Then I can call parents, what happened? Did he get sick? Was he at a soccer tournament? What was happening that week? And then this kid has tardy issues. So you can see at a glance, okay, what kids do you need to address? And you can call home, you can call coaches, you can call whoever you need to call to get help for those students. I take it a step further and I actually grade here. So for example, if I did an assignment on the 9th, I put the grade in that square. And then on the 14th, I put the grade on that square. But that, with time, you get more comfortable with what you're doing, so you can take it a step further. So I do a lot of things in this one paper. It's like my matrix for my classroom. Okay. Any questions for that?
So you're doing that on a monthly basis?
It's actually a 9 weeks. So I have in the front the first 5 weeks, and in the back the next 4 weeks. So in one paper, I have the entire 9 weeks record in terms of when they were absent, when they were tardy, the grades they had. So it's all the records in one paper.
Okay. And a lot of people say, I do something similar. I'm not as organized as Ms. Regalada, but I just print out the class roster we have in the computer, and I do the same thing. I always have the little A for absent, the little T for tardy. That's important because it's so much easier for you to go to your app, to your book, to your sheet, and somebody says, hey, was this kid present in your class so-and-so day? And you can quickly look, instead of having to go into your computer, having to go into attendance history, and then from that, you know, there's just so much more involved in having to go through the computer. Because I remember, well, we have a computer program, why do I need paper? I learned this from a teacher. You need to have your own separate record. Because what if the system goes down? What if all of a sudden, all the grades, and it has happened. It has happened a lot. So definitely I recommend having your own. I have my own paper one. And a lot of teachers are like, that's extra work. It is and it isn't. Because if that thing crashes, I can just go again and not have to ask for all the papers back or go through my record to see what they got on the test. Okay? And that as well, the absences and the tardies, you can see right away, oh look, he has a lot of tardies, he has a lot of absences, yada yada yada. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Do you use an Excel sheet to put all the grades in, or?
They have the systems. They have GradeSpeed. For us, it's GradeSpeed. I'm not sure what's the correct
For
name.
us, it's called Tyler, and I'm saying it like this because it sucks. But
I've heard.
that's another
I've
story.
heard. Yes.
Yes, so they have a system. It's electronic. It's,
So you're
it's an electronic system.
suggesting we have a backup?
Yes.
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 Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because things happen. Things happen, and they happen all the time. And for example, for me, I like it too because I don't have to go and see, okay, is every kid here? I can just go see, okay, that seat is empty, it's this, okay, that kid is absent. So I can take attendance like that. Especially in the beginning when you don't know their names, you have them assigned already, okay, that kid was absent. So it really helps a lot to be organized and to have everything prepared ahead of time.
And another note on the names, okay? They said, and I've heard somewhere, that a person, the most beautiful sound to a person is the sound of their own name, okay? So make it a goal. Make it a goal, and that's my goal. That at the end, hopefully by the first week, you know everybody's name. Make it that goal. And it's a practice thing, it's a memory thing.
And this helps.
Make it a goal. This helps a lot. And you start making like, oh, okay, the lady in the blue, oh, her name is like, you know, Anna or whatever. You start making such, it is so important. It makes me cringe every time a kid goes and then somebody tells them, what's your name? It's like, that kid has been with you for 3 months and you don't know this kid's name? It devalues them. And they don't like that. They don't like to be called by a different name or you or whatever. So make it definitely a point. At least by the first week, 2 weeks tops. Memorize their names. Memorize their names. Okay. Very, very, very crucial. Okay. We also have this wonderful thing that was brought to us by one of our master teachers. This was shown to us. It's by Wong. His last name is Wong. He does workshops for teachers. He's amazing. But one of the teachers that he got to talk to, she actually does this, okay? So one of the things, that is kind of like a class contract slash, what can I say? The classroom, her ultimate classroom setup. Excuse me?
I apologize, my boss made the copies and he didn't do
Oh.
it correctly, like the
Oh. Ah, there it is.
But you get the idea.
Yeah.
You get the idea that it's a brochure, right?
Yeah,
So this is like everything in one thing, right?
Yeah.
It has expectations, it has rules, it has procedures for a lot of things. So this would be a good thing to put together to give your kids on the first day of school, and they have it. And you can even have a space where the parents sign it. That way they understand. And that's where I was talking about, where you can put in there, if I pick up a cell phone the first time, I'm going to keep it until the end of the day. The second time, I'm going to keep it till the end of the week. And if they sign it, they acknowledge it, and they're basically saying, I agree with you. So, and you have it on record.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And it doesn't have to be a brochure. We just saw this week, and we're like, oh my God, this is awesome.
I never thought about
You know?
it.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
What happens if the parents don't sign?
Well, that is up to you. You can get. It could be that kid just never gave it to them. Okay.
Or like they don't agree with it, like that's why they don't
Then
sign
that's
it.
when you can have a conversation with that parent and say, well, what do you think?
And
You know?
usually that's a great opportunity for an easy 100.
Mhm. Oh
For
yeah.
an easy 100. You
Because
bring this in and you have your first 100, and trust me, you will need it. So do it. You know, like, entice them for an easy 100, they'll do it. Mom, sign here.
Yeah.
And
And if
what
it's
you want the
Yes.
documentation.
Absolutely. And also, if you can, if it's possible, translate it. Especially living in this border community, you have a lot of parents who do not speak English. Okay, so it's actually kind of nice to be able to give them the rules in Spanish as well. Me, it's a one-pager. For me, it's very similar to that. It's a little more simple, but I actually have it both in English and Spanish because I asked my kids, do any of your parents not speak English? And I'll always have quite a few, and so I'll go ahead and do the contract in Spanish.
Another thing is, a lot of teachers now have websites. They have to have a website, and you have to post your rules. But it's always good, although they should be able to have a way to go back and look at them. You should have the documentation or that they signed, that they understood, they read them, at least that they read them.
And what I've done a lot of times is I actually have like a signing paper that they received the contract. So if the parents come and say, oh, well, I never got the contract, I'm like, I'm sorry, I gave your kid the contract, he just never showed it to you. So you're backing yourself out. And you always have an explanation. You say, I'm sorry, but cell phones are very disruptive, and I need all the time I can get to teach the students. So that's why I made this rule. So you always have an answer for why you're doing things in your classroom. And I mean, the principals should back you up, but that's another issue.
And that's one of also another reality, guys. You have to CYA, okay? Period. I hope you know what that means. Okay. You do. But, okay? Yes, cover your behind. Yes, because anytime you ask a child to come to tutoring, anytime you give them a contract, something like that, you can have that child sign, okay? And that actually proves, in the case of anything major happening, like, look, I followed what I needed to follow. They were the ones that didn't do their part, okay? So always have that documentation in. We're actually going to talk about a binder, a student binder that you can have, where you have student information.
And in that paper, you can say that they're just signing that they receive it.
Yeah,
It
they're
doesn't
not-
mean that
yeah.
they agree with it, they just sign that they received it. And again, you're the ultimate boss of your classroom, and so you set the rules, okay?
And also, you can modify it per class, okay? I have a pre-AP class, I have a senior class, which is the scientific research and design. I treat that class like a senior, like a college level class. So my kids in that class get a syllabus just like we do in college, okay? With the rules and expectations. So to them, it's different than what I would give my regular chemistry class. I'm sure our little ones will get something different, more, a lot simpler than somebody in college or in high school. So also make it that it's understandable as well. I mean, you're not going to use big words for children in elementary as you would maybe for seniors in high school. So also be aware of who you're teaching and all that good stuff. So here's what she has right now. And then as you notice, I mean, this teacher covered everything. I totally love it. I'm going to use it next year. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely, yeah.
And like we mentioned earlier, you can, like, for example, the first day, you can go over this first 3 right here. And then as the days go by, the first time you have a test, you go over those. The first time you can go over the makeup one the first day too. So like, you don't have to go over all of this the first day of school. You can go over it when you need it. There's certain things that you would have to tell them the first day, but everything else you can tell as time goes by. Also, another thing is you can make posters of these and put it around the room. For example, the sharpening pencils you can put right above where you have the sharpener. The using computer ones, you can put it where the computers are at. So you can make big posters as a reminder. So they have it in their binder, their notebook, and they also have it about the room as a reminder.
And then you guys have heard of interactive notebooks. I'm not an interactive notebook person. I use binders. So that is like part of their binder. So whenever I do binder checks, that is a required paper in that binder. Okay, so that's something that they have. Something is like, well, Miss, I didn't know. Look at your contract. What do you mean you didn't know? You signed it, right? Yeah, okay, you did know. So make it a required piece of paper, required material for the master grade. They can paste it on their interactive notebook if you want notebooks or binders if they do.